Welcome to Vlogtober, day 23, and I'm going to read chapter 3 of My Third Grade Teacher is a Witch by Breazeale. We're wasting time. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Allie Mack and I am currently a 7th grade math teacher. I was just wanting to welcome you to Vlogtober, and I want to go ahead and get started in this book because the last video I put up was like 30 minutes long and I don't want it to be that long because it took forever to edit, upload, and all that good stuff all for one day. So let's go ahead and get into it. Now, if you saw my last video where I read chapters 1 and 2, we meet Ashton, which is a 3rd grade boy, and he's excited about his first day of 3rd grade. And we learn that his teacher is a witch, not just a mean woman, but a real witch. And I don't want to give any spoilers. So let's get into chapter 3, which is titled The Picnic Game. I'm ready. As I walked to Miss Opal's classroom, she was waiting by the door. Today, she wore a navy blue skirt and a green top. I started to walk past her when she grabbed the collar of my red shirt. Ooh, she's wrong for that, by the way. I didn't forget about that little temper tantrum you threw yesterday. This is your only warning. I will not tolerate that kind of behavior, Miss Opal hissed. Dread filled in the pit of my stomach as I held onto every word she spoke. Her eyes were intense and looked scary. I nodded at her to show I understood. She let go of my shirt and I darted off to hang my book bag on the hook. I made my way to the number 4 desk and I started writing my spelling words in my best handwriting. Today, we got to use a dry erase marker to write our spelling words on top of our desk. That is pretty cool. 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, I wrote. The class once again filled with my classmates. Once again, Jill and Thea messed with my hair on the way to her seat. I continued to write, the bell rang, and Miss Opal closed her door. We went over our morning meeting. As a class, we practiced skip counting by 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, 6s, 7s, 8s, 9s, 10s, 11s, 12s, you get it. We did each one twice. We made it to the word wall. We all stood to review our spelling words. We clapped the consonants and stomped the vowels. That's a fun activity. This was kind of fun. We then played a game called Around the World. Of course, Greg won. He was too smart to be in the 3rd grade. Does anyone know what this is? Miss Opal snapped her fingers and a line with numbers appeared to be floating in thin air. Hands shot up straight and still. Like Miss Opal showed us the day before, Miss Opal pressed her lips together as she thought about who to choose. She chose Alex. Alex is really smart too. He is smart and cool. This does not happen much in 3rd grade. Number line. Alex said, yes. Miss Opal rubbed Alex's shoulder, leaving a gold star behind. Now a number line will be your best friend this school year. You can use it to figure out addition and subtraction problems. You can use it when judging equivalent fractions. You can even use a number line to help you multiply and divide. Today we are going to start off simple. We will use this number line to add, Miss Opal informed. Grace shyly raised her hand. Yes, Grace? What are equivalent fractions? Grace questioned. Well, let's think about the first word, equivalent. This means equal or the same. The second word, fraction, means a part of a whole. So basically, equivalent fractions means 2 numbers are equal even though they do not look the same. Examples being 1/2 is the same as 2/4. We will get more into this later. Great question, Grace. Miss Opal is actually pretty when she is not being mean. She has a small nose and big eyes. She has freckles on her nose and cheeks. Her lips formed a heart when she was not talking. Today, her dark hair is still in a tight bun. Now, like when we went to lunch yesterday, I need you to line up alphabetically, Miss Opal informed. We did as we were told, and we lined up perfect the first time. Thank goodness. We followed Miss Opal to the field where we had recess. I wonder what she is going to have us do out here. Remember that number line I told you about? Miss Opal started. We all nodded to assure her we remembered. Miss Opal snapped her slender fingers once more, and a gigantic number line appeared across the field. This number line appears to go on for 1 billion miles. Now, let's stand on 0, Miss Opal commanded. She led the class to where the 0 was on the number line. She snapped her fingers. There was another number line that crossed the 0 spot. Wow, how does she do that? I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but this is called a coordinate plane. You have an x-axis and a y-axis. When you know these 2 points, you can find a location on this grid. Do you know what it is called where we are standing? She asked. We all shook our heads no. It is the origin. This is when the x is 0 and the y is 0. More on that later. Miss Opal started before snapping her fingers, which made the y-axis disappear. We were back to the plain old number line. After practicing on adding and subtracting on the number line outside, we made our way back to the classroom. Miss Opal gave us a worksheet to practice adding and subtracting. She had snapped her fingers and all of us had a number line laminated on our desk. This room was silent as we worked. Then out of nowhere, a little girl burst through our classroom door. Jack said under his breath that the girl was Matilda, Miss Opal's daughter. Matilda is pretty. She has bright red hair with brown eyes. She is skinny and fair-skinned like her mother. She had the biggest hair bow right by her face. This better be an emergency, Matilda, Miss Opal warned. Miss Opal removed Matilda's silver hair bow and pinned it further back on the girl's head. Matilda gave her mother an annoyed look. Miss Opal ignored her daughter's look as she waited for an explanation.
I guess it is not an emergency.
Matilda smiled sweetly. Then get back to class, Miss Opal ordered. As Matilda exited the classroom, Miss Opal had Maggie collect our work. Once every paper was collected, Miss Opal placed our work in the designated spot. All right, boys and girls, I am passing out a form that you will need to give to your parents. I need at least half of you to get your parents to come and tell us about their job. It explains all this on the form, but your parents will have to explain how they use math while they are working. I really want all your parents to come, but I do know some parents have more hectic schedules than others, Miss Opal explained while handing out forms. When she gave me the form, I read it eagerly. I hope my dad can come do this. Maybe I can score some points with Miss Opal. I really do not think she likes me very much. All right, boys and girls, we will be changing classes today. You will go to Miss Goodman to learn all you can about language arts, science, and social studies. Pack up quietly, Miss Opal instructed. Yes, I do get to have Miss Goodman as a teacher this year. At least I do not have to spend all day in here. Being good is causing me to be a nervous wreck. We lined up outside Miss Goodman's door. Miss Goodman's homeroom students passed us on their way to Miss Opal's classroom. They were laughing and playing, which was the opposite of how we were lined up. Miss Opal was not going to put up with that. Miss Goodman motioned for us to enter her room. Her room decorations were all black and hot pink. Doesn't she know that there are boys in her classroom too? Her desks were in rows, and she informed us to sit wherever we would like. This is going to be awesome. All right, kids, I know most of you are familiar with each other by now. Since I do not know all of your names yet, we are going to play the picnic game. How we play this game is you will say your name and an item you would bring to a picnic that starts with the first letter of your name. The second person will do the same, but then they will say the first person's name and the item as well. I will go first. My name is Miss Goodman, and I am bringing grapes. Now, you go next. Miss Goodman pointed at Daisy. Daisy seemed confused. My name is Daisy, Daisy started. Now tell us something you will bring that starts with a D, Miss Goodman instructed. I will bring a dog, Daisy said. Now, Daisy, you will say my name. What am I bringing? Miss Goodman said. You are Miss Goodman, and you are bringing grapes. Daisy smiled. Perfect, Daisy. You go next. Miss Goodman pointed at Mia. My name is Mia, and I will bring marshmallows. That is Daisy, and she is bringing a dog. You are Miss Goodman, and you are bringing grapes. Mia concluded. That was perfect, Miss Goodman gleamed. Miss Goodman seemed really nice. She had dark skin with blue eyes. Her hair is long and curly. She wore a khaki suit with a red blouse. Her necklace and earrings were large and pretty. I like Miss Goodman. My classmates continued on with this game. I was to go last, which means I'm supposed to recite all of my classmates' names. I hope I can do it. The good thing is, Miss Goodman has been helping kids that need it. Maybe she will help me if I need it. Oh, my turn. My name is Ashton, and I will be bringing armor. I started. The class laughed. Was that really that funny? That is Jack, and he is bringing jelly beans. That is Lacey, and she is bringing lace. That is Greg, and he is bringing germs. I continued. Everyone laughed again. Didn't that get old after the 20th time? This is LaDerek, and he is bringing LaShawn. That is LaShawn, and he is bringing LaDerek. I stumbled. Everyone laughed again. That is Michael, and he is bringing milkshakes. This is Helena, and she is bringing hair. That is Maggie, and she's bringing macaroni and cheese. I waited for the kids to laugh. Of course they did, since that was so funny. Of course they did. Oh, that is Demario, and he is bringing drums. This is Jalinthy, and she is bringing juice. That is Alex, and he is bringing apples. This is Frank, and he is bringing French fries. That is Grace, and she is bringing a giraffe. That is Richard, and he is bringing Rihanna. I spoke. My classmates laughed again. That is a little funny. This is Jamila, and she is bringing a Jack-in-the-Box. I waited for my peers to laugh, and they did. That is Mia, and she is bringing marshmallows. This is Daisy, and she's bringing a dog. You're Miss Goodman, and you're bringing grapes. I finally finished without any help from the teacher. Man, I am good. That is amazing, Ashton. Miss Goodman squeezed my shoulder in approval. I have never had a student recite all the names without any help. As soon as Miss Goodman complimented me, it seemed like 5 or 6 different voices shouted out to allow them to try. Miss Goodman thought about it for a minute and shook her head no. We really do not have time for that today, class. Miss Goodman exclaimed. After several classmates shouted out to allow them to show her how good they were, kids wiggled and screamed in their seats until she finally agreed. It seemed like no time had passed before it was time to go to lunch. We did all kinds of fun things in Miss Goodman's class. We completed coloring sheets, played games, and even danced all around the room. Miss Goodman is an excellent dancer for an old woman, at least. We were the first class in the lunchroom. Miss Goodman allowed us to sit wherever we wanted. I sat next to LaShawn and Alex. It was nice to actually talk to people I liked. Miss Goodman is awesome, LaShawn commented. I don't want to go back to Miss Opal, Alex added. Miss Opal is so uptight, I joined. It was pretty funny when she turned Michael into an elephant, Alex laughed. I know. The look on his face when she changed him back was priceless, I told him. Him and those fat Nike shoes, LaShawn laughed hysterically. We all joined his laughter before we knew it. Lunch was over. When we made our way back to Miss Goodman's room, we completed a word search. Time to go back to Miss Opal's room. My classmates and I groaned. On the way back to Miss Opal's room, most of us were quiet and lined up straight. LaShawn and LaDerek were laughing and playing. Miss Opal is going to get them. When Miss Opal released her students, they were silent and in a straight line. James told LaShawn that Miss Opal turned Dawson into a penguin. The boys laughed at this. When Miss Opal poked her head out of the door, all the third graders were silent. She motioned for us to enter her room. We did as she said. When seated, I pulled out my book to read it again before I took the test on it. The rest of my classmates were reading their books quietly. Miss Opal strolled around the room, asking different students questions about their books. When she came to me, I told her I was ready to take an AR test. You better make 100%. I will not take anything less than that, she warned. I plotted down on the computer and took the test on the math curse by Lane Smith. I answered all the questions quickly. I waited anxiously as I waited my score. Miss Opal appeared out of nowhere behind me. I held my breath and waited. 100% popped up on the computer screen and I let out a sigh of relief. That is excellent, Ashton. That is actually a challenging book. You have earned 15 minutes of playtime on the computer. You may choose any of the websites on my home screen. Miss Opal smiled warmly at me. Miss Opal is beautiful when she smiles. She has dimples and everything. Maybe she's not so bad after all. I decided to go to learnforgood.org and play games on there. My 15 minutes seemed to go by fast. I got off the computer and returned to my seat. I had not been off the computer long when Miss Olson's lovely voice came over the intercom. All car riders may exit. Have a wonderful day, students. I grabbed my things and exited Miss Opal's classroom quietly. As soon as I was out the door, I raced to greet my dad. Today, he was the first vehicle in line. I jumped in his truck. Okay, so the next chapter that we will read is called Being a Butcher. I guess we are going to read chapter 4 after all because it's very short. So I hope you don't mind. And also, we might be able to get through this book faster if we do 2 at a time. So, chapter 4, Being a Butcher. How was your day? Dad greeted. Better. How was yours? I asked him. Great. Great. I am all done at the shop. Let's go home, Dad said. Dad parked the truck under our carport. My dog Jedi greeted us with his tail wagging. I petted my dog and he seemed pleased. Dad motioned for me to come inside. Our home is not very big, but Dad says it's all we need. The house is made out of brick. We have a blue door and a porch with a swing. There are only 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom that Dad and I share. My room has a bunk bed with Transformers bedspreads. I have a white dresser and a large wooden toy box. My walls are covered in superheroes posters, just the way I like it. Dad cut up a chicken within minutes. He seasoned the chicken and placed it into the oven. Dad made macaroni and cheese while I buttered rolls. Dinner was served in less than an hour. We ate like kings and drank the best sweet tea I have ever had. Dad pulled a pecan pie out of the refrigerator along with vanilla ice cream. We dove into the dessert without talking. My dad is the best cook in the world. After dinner, Dad sat in the black recliner and I sat in my matching black recliner. Dad let me watch an episode of my favorite TV show while he played with his phone. After my show was over, he instructed me to take a shower. I did like I was told, and then after my shower, I brushed my teeth. I returned to my recliner. Dad was watching the news. It is almost your bedtime, little man, Dad smiled. I know. Can we go to the movies this weekend? I asked him. I do not think this weekend will be good for that. You know the weekends are my busiest days, Dad informed. Can't you hire someone to help you so you don't have to work so much? I asked. I have been looking. Being a butcher is hard work and an art. I cannot find anyone that is as good as I need them to be. I will keep looking, Dad assured me. I am satisfied with that answer. I hug and kiss my dad before I go to my room. I make sure my alarm clock is still set. I climb into the top bed of my bunk bed. I pull my comforter to my chin. I stare at the glowing stars on my ceiling before I drift off into a deep sleep. The first week of school went by quickly. The second week of school went by quicker than the first. The third week of school was when our parents' sign-up forms were to be turned in. My dad agreed to speak to the class about being a butcher. I was excited that he agreed to do it. He would be talking to the class Monday on the 4th week of school. Good morning, class. Miss Opal smiled at us. Good morning, Miss Opal. The whole class greeted back. Today, we have a special treat for you. Today, Ashton's father will be discussing his job and how he uses math to complete his daily tasks. Please give a round of applause to Mr. Breeze, Miss Opal introduced. Dad stood and accepted his applause. My dad was a foot taller than Miss Opal. She gave my dad a warm smile before stepping to the back of the classroom. Dad was wearing blue jeans and a black shirt that was tucked into his jeans. He wore his white apron and a cap that said Big Joey's Meat Shop. Good morning, Dad greeted all of us. Good morning, Mr. Breeze, we cheered. Today, I'm going to talk to you about my life as a butcher. Dad started in his deep voice. To be a butcher, you have to be good with a knife, he said as he pulled out a butcher's knife. The class gasped in amazing, like they had never seen a knife before. I cut up pigs, chickens, cows, turkeys, and just about any animal my customers want. Dad continues. Dad discussed what a typical day is like in a butcher shop. All my classmates leaned forward in their chairs, holding onto every word my father spoke. Dad explained that math is essential to his line of work. He discussed how when he weighs his steaks or ground beef, he uses a scale. Dad also discussed how when he cuts up steak, he has to measure to make sure they are a certain thickness. Also, when you are as skilled as I am, you can time yourself to see how long it takes to cut up a piece of meat, Dad said as he pulled out a chicken and a cutting board. Miss Opal, Will you please start the timer? Dad asked. Miss Opal snapped her fingers and a timer appeared to be floating in the classroom. Dad looked amazed at this, but my classmates and I were used to Miss Opal's illusions by now. How long do you think it will take me to cut up this chicken? Dad asked my classmates and me. I started to answer, but my dad hushed me. He knew that I knew how long it took him to cut up an entire chicken. I gave Dad a big toothy grin. My classmate's hand shot up quietly and still. Dad looked around the room while deciding which student to choose. Dad called on Greg. 12 minutes, Greg guessed. Dad then called on Mia. 5 minutes. Mia spoke softly. 5 minutes. Mia spoke softly. Demario was the next kid Dad called on. 8 minutes and 30 seconds. Let's see if anyone guessed correct. Miss Opal, please start the timer. Dad asked Miss Opal politely. Miss Opal started the timer and Dad quickly got to work. His knife sliced through the chicken bones like butter. Within seconds, Dad had the whole chicken sliced and ready to cook. 36 seconds, Miss Opal cheered. My classmates were amazed at what they saw. It is like they had never seen a man chop up a chicken before. Miss Opal even seemed amazed at what she just saw. Are there any questions? Dad concluded. How many chickens have you cut up in your life? Jack asked. Thousands, I am sure, Dad assured. What is your favorite thing to chop up? Grace asked. Steak, Dad told her. Almost every one of my classmates asked Dad a question. Some even asked more than one. Dad was happy to share. Finally, Miss Opal thanked my dad for coming and sharing. Dad nodded politely. One last thing before I leave. I brought everyone a present. Just don't wear it in class. I do not want you to get in trouble. Dad smiled as he gave all the peers a cap that read, Big Joey's Meat Shop. So the next time I read this story, we'll be reading chapter 5, titled, I Am Not a Crybaby. I revealed in the last reading of this story that I actually wrote this book. And all the children I mentioned in this story are based on a class of children I had at this school in Collins. They would either be 11th graders. No, they would either be seniors right now or had just graduated. I think they're seniors this year. The only fictional character in this story are Matilda and Ashton. Those are, and Miss Opal, of course, but the rest of the characters are based on people I worked with during the time that I wrote the story. So as I read it now, I see some of the grammatical errors or what I could have added to make it different. And as I read it to you, I'm so tempted to change it a little bit to, how I'm feeling now. But I guess that's not how it works when you publish it. Anyway, I guess that's it for this Vlogtober video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you'll come back and watch some more of my videos. And y'all have a great day, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.